quorum, huh?
Alright, yeah, today is the 20th of August, Tuesday. This is the West Bath Planning Board. I'm Gabe Whitney. I'm here with
Jim Williams.
Jerry Mitchell.
and
Max
Max.
Johnstone from Midcoast Council of Governments.
Thank you for being here, and we're going through our ordinances, or LD 2000, or,
No, I thought you approved LD 2003 a while ago.
okay, so then we're good there. Sorry.
I hope so.
We pulled it back, Max. You can tell you.
Okay.
Sorry. Alright,
Scoot up.
yeah, please.
This is the old. We want to do that one.
Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, the comprehensive plan passed. I assume, did LD 2003 pass into town?
Yes.
It did, okay. So now we can actually start, working on this, the reform that we came talking about. So, one of the big things I really want to do tonight is just hear from you guys about anything that really sticks out for amending this plan. I'll just put down the date for today, 2023. And I'm just going to go over some of the ideas that I do have and what I do want to go for. And I already spoke to John as well, the code enforcement officer, just to get some of his ideas. His immediate thing was just make it easier to understand for the average person.
Yeah.
And I pointed out something else that I found was a bit confusing. It was like your land use chart on page 20.
Yeah, 20.
20 going onwards. To me, there are some areas where it just seems like there's a lot more text than necessary for some of them. Like you have detached dwellings on separate lots, you have accessory temporary residential. I'm wondering why not just make like one that says single family, one for temporary, and just simplify it a little bit. And then also there's permitted, but does that mean it's supposed to be planning board or code enforcement officer or just allowed?
Where's that?
I'm looking at your land use chart, page 20.
Which item?
It just says at the very top for key, anything that has a P on it,
I mean,
all those have a P, it just says it's permitted.
Right.
So, like, does that mean everything has to go to you guys, or does that mean the code enforcement officer could just do a permit for some of these items? Like, that was where I was also starting to get a bit confused.
Like I've seen other towns and like they'll say codes, so it has
Right.
the key will have like a
Like-
codes officer can approve it. or-
Right,
Yeah.
like, you guys probably don't review every single family home that's built in town, right?
That's one thing we wanted to talk about too, Max. Somewhere in here, and I don't know where it is right now, but in this code, it says that we're supposed to approve all dwellings in the shoreline zone, and we never have.
Right.
So we should change that, right? We don't wanna,
But isn't it, we'll have to look at the language.
yeah,
I
I'll
think
have
it's
to
specifically look at the
find it.
language.
Yeah,
I know it's there, Jerry,
I just can't, I'll have to find it.
but I think it's kind of an either or maybe. Maybe that, but, so we need to just look at that specifically.
Yeah, I'll try to find it.
Yeah.
Well, and that gets to another thing I have to, and that's state required items. One of them is the shoreland zone. And if I'm doing the shoreland zone, that's already gonna have the code enforcement officer deal with it in the shore, residential in the shoreland zone, unless it's a resource protection, in which case the planning board usually takes care of that.
Well, maybe we should try and find that
Yeah.
language.
Did they give you Darlene's?
Yes,
Okay.
I still have all of Darlene's notes.
Because she had some really good notes. I do know on page 29, that's in this table,
Setbacks.
So that was another item I wanted to just quickly talk about. Primarily the high-density shoreline zone item. So I guess one thing I'm confused about is why it is 3 different categories. Is there a reason that it just can't be lot size, 1 acre for all of them, and same setbacks and everything?
What is this?
Page 29 is what I have.
Right, item 1 in the table.
Item 1, it says high density shoreline, and then you have the legally non-conforming size of lots, which that's usually just handled outside of it, it doesn't really apply to this. And then you have all other lots, 1A, B, C, D, E, and G, they have their standard, and then all other lots for 1F is Birch Point, and that has a.
Well, yeah, I think it does matter because the different acreage, right?
Right, but I'm just wondering hypothetically, why not, the legally non-conforming size lots, that would be removed. If it's a non-conforming lot,
Right.
you're not gonna split it anymore. Whereas lot 1F being 2 acres, 75-foot shore setback, 150-foot shore frontage, 56 road setback, why not just make that all fall under this lowest item with the other lots of 1 acre?
I guess I'm missing something here. What's it mean when it says all other lots, 1A? Is that the actual lot number on the tax map they're referring to?
That's what I don't know. Like, I assume it's, if you look at the shoreline map or the map you have right over there, I assume like 1A is talking about a different part where you have a little bits right here, like, you know, is this 1A, this 1B, this 1C, this 1D, E, F, like, that's what I assume, and then you got the 2 up there. That's what I assume we're talking about with this. Which is again, why I wonder why even have that type of difference, really.
But like they're all high density shoreline, right?
They're all high density shoreline, they're all the same district.
They're all the same district and just in different spots, right?
Yeah, well, and they're all in different spots, but what changes there, not even setbacks, the shore frontage and the road frontage, the only difference is that if you're on Birch Point, you just need to have more.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why even have that difference. If it's in the same district, just have it the same standard, regardless of where it is in town. That's my opinion. And
Before my time.
Yep.
There seemed to be a lot of feelings that the larger the lot size, the better. Okay, spread things out, to slow down development and so forth. And so it could be that there've been over the, early on, there were a lot of compromises about the actual lot size and so forth. But I, for one, don't understand what that actually, like 1B and 1C mean. What are they referring to?
Right. Are there the districts within that map there?
I don't see any reference on that map.
No.
Do we have tax maps available that we can look at?
you could probably look at the tax map, but again,
Are they up in, do you know if they're up in John's office? Would there be a copy of the tax map somewhere I could look at? Or we could break down and look at?
Sure, there is.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Do you mind if I go look? Do you want to? I don't mind.
Well, that's-
we do it together.
Sure, yeah.
well, that's something that could be researched another time. We don't have
No, I
to.
understand.
And other things we're gonna go over today.
Yeah, maybe we should, go through your list and start there.
I mean, the only list I've really given is the short was the LD 2003 at this point.
No, I mean, like you said, you had notes you wanted to
Oh, right.
go through, but I guess we'll figure this out
I guess we're waiting for the
first, yeah.
continue or?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see, just going over some other notes that I had with John. Commercial fisheries only for the town access points. So this is another shoreline zone item. Some towns will have what's called a commercial fisheries maritime access one where for most shoreline zone items, it's just saying you can't build 75 feet to the water. Commercial fisheries zone, a lot of towns will put their landings to that district and say you can build right up to the water. So that it's commercial. As long as it's promoting commercial fishing.
That's one thing we did miss, they got caught early on. So like if you look in the land use table for high density shoreline zone, it talks about commercial fisheries zone. So if we could expand, you know.
So yeah, I guess the other thing I'm a bit interested in is when we're talking about high density shoreline, is that meant to just be shoreline zone, or is that supposed to be its own little land use district?
It's its own little land use district. It's up there on the map.
Yeah, I see it on the map.
Because it also includes places that are across the street or even nearby, but aren't really close together.
Yeah.
Let's see what Jim found. You see anything too?
Well, you're welcome here, look. This
One
is-
A, one B.
This is Birch Point, and you go back, so I don't think it's referring to tax numbers.
No, it wouldn't be tax map numbers. This must have been defined somewhere for what 1A, B, C, D, E, and all that meant. I really think it's supposed to just talk about the different points throughout town and 1F. Because 1F specifically talks about Birch, it says Birch. If I'm looking at the land use chart, or the lot size chart. It specifically says that.
So there's seven here.
Yeah. So there's probably just 7 different points, maybe in the blocks.
Yeah, there's 7.
Yeah, so that's fine.
So at one time, I bet these were like this one was 1F,
Yeah,
and the rest were all,
just A, B, C, D.
yeah.
So it does, in the high density, it says this district consists of 7 separate sub-districts and then defines them A, B, C, D, E. Which
Yeah.
would be 1.
That's 14?
You look on page
Page
14, yeah, okay. It does define one,
And then
Yeah.
it's the outlines of which each one is.
and then actually does talk about
Which
lot
lots?
numbers.
Yeah.
U24, which is this one right here. So it's just defining where that is, okay, good. I guess I can move that along. So,
I mean, I think it's worth to keep that, Max, really, whatever.
To not change the thing?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
yeah.
It just seems like it's a weird, like even reading that description, it doesn't say why Birch Point has to be that. I guess that's why I'm confused why there is this 3 different tiers. Like the non-conforming ones, that shouldn't even really,
That should have an NA in it, right?
that, I'd almost remove that one.
So why
Well,
would
if you remove it though, then, like if you had a non-conforming lot, you wouldn't really know if you could build on it or not, if it wasn't in the table.
Because if it's a non-conforming lot by the time the ordinance was created, you're still allowed to build on it. Because it was created before the ordinance was done, so you're allowed to build on it.
But couldn't you just put NA, lot size is not applicable on that one? Just so if somebody reads the book, because if they don't read, if it's not in there, then they come and they start researching this and they find that they have a legally non-conforming lot, but it's not on the table, they would assume they can't build on it. And like, I think if it wasn't in this ordinance, then legally you wouldn't be allowed to build on it.
I mean, that would just be under the non-conforming use or lot section, just saying you can't build on it as long as you have X, Y, Z. That's why I wouldn't have it there, that's just my own thought. But I don't wanna get too much into the weeds. Today was more just
broad strokes?
broad strokes, hearing from everyone here, because I'm just going over Jonathan's items, seeing if you agree on all of them, and if there's anything else that sticks out for you guys. And then I have some other items to talk about.
Cool.
So I was just mentioning, putting commercial fisheries, for a town access points, just encouraging work in waterfront area. And there is usually a limited commercial and a general development in the shoreline zone. And it was mentioned that Hennessy Road has an oyster farm. Is there any other commercial developments that are along shoreland that?
So I think if you look at the ordinance now, Max, like I'd have to find it, it specifically says where it's allowed.
Right, but I'm talking about like, when putting in the shoreline zone entirely, like, I know you're saying that in the high density shorelands and all these other ones, the lower districts, land use districts, these are the uses that are allowed. But I'll be honest, this is a bit messy. Like, I want to try and give you a bit more of a direct thing. And I see aquaculture right here as a principal use, and it's permitted in the high density shoreline, the residential, and the rural residential. Okay?
What pages, oh yeah, agriculture, yeah, so 5 and 6, like as long as the use didn't get changed.
What page you on, Jerry?
23. I just wouldn't want to see 5 and 6 changed, like anything, like the zone that you can do that stuff in.
No. So maybe I should talk about what I want to do in the shoreline zone. So the state does have a way of having like the 250-foot buffer that goes around the whole water bodies, and then you break that up into limited residential, limited commercial, general development, commercial fisheries, more districts. I don't think that's necessary. What I think can be done is similar to what some other towns have done, where we just acknowledge the shoreline zone for 250, so they'll have to follow the state standards, but we don't have the 50 different districts. We'll have the plain shoreline zone, so that all that can be permitted, regardless if your neighbor's a residential home, your neighbor's a commercial. And then we have 3 sub-districts. There's the resource protection, which is if there's a sensitive habitat, or that is defined by beginning with habitats, identified endangered species, that would be a resource protection. There's stream protection, which would be a 75-foot buffer around just streams that go into those water bodies. And then the third would be the commercial fishery land that I just mentioned, where that would be where you permit people to build right up to the water, because there is that history of working waterfront right there. And then everywhere else, you can do your agriculture wherever, you can do your own building wherever. We don't have to have the 50 different districts. Does that make sense?
We don't have to have what?
Like, right, the state.
That's just the last sentence you said.
So the state shoreline zone has like 5 or 6 different districts. Limited residential, limited commercial, which limited residential, you'd only build a home. Limited commercial, it's only for the commercial items. General development is still allowing some more commercial development, but a lot closer to the water. I don't want to do those types of things. It's more just, there's the shoreline entirely, and then there's only these 3 specific ones you have to worry about. Sensitive habitat areas, which is where you don't want to build closer to water. And then the commercial one, where there's the history of building right up to the water, and you're going to keep it that way. And then the rest of
I
it.
think Max, like the whole thing, like around here is like there's been a lot of lobstermen over the years and stuff that have built right up to the water for bait sheds and stuff like that. So like it sounds to me like you want to limit it to just like certain areas. Whereas I think like if you go up and down the water.
So you're probably talking about the piers and the walkways, that wouldn't change this.
No, I'm talking about like bait sheds and stuff like that.
As long as it's a water dependent one, that wouldn't change. And I can send you the copy of the shoreline zone that would show, like this is the state's language that I'm showing at that point.
Okay.
Well, I think what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. I think there might be a lot of resistance to change. And the environmental side, resource protection. I mean, there's been a lot of talk and so forth about, around Winnegans Lake and so forth, and that area. I mean, I can see, I mean, if we're gonna make changes to the land use that's allowed, I can see that there may be a lot of resistance to that change, but, I mean, I personally, I'm all for trying to make this clearer, and it's not now, it's difficult to read, and I've read a lot of these over the years. This probably is the most difficult that I've read. Well, no, Lewiston was the first, but, and even with professional planners there, we still couldn't get that figured out.
It just goes back, Max, to what I think like you're trying to limit the commercial fisheries district to certain areas, that's what it sounded like, Sabino had it like certain areas, no.
No, because it's more just saying you're acknowledging where there is this current history of development, and you don't want to change that.
But I think, and to me, that's everywhere in the shoreline zone.
And that's where we get back to the non-conforming items, where if someone has already built there, then yeah, you can't really change that. But it's about people trying to change that, and if you, like, you're talking about the lobster shacks and everything that go right up to the water, okay. What about the McMansions that want to move in?
Right. But I think, like we had talked, because I proposed this one long time ago, I don't think you remember, Jim, remember that? And like, it would have to be like, commercially fishery dependent, you know what I'm saying? You can't just go build a boat shed next to the water, unless you can prove it's commercially dependent, and like you have a commercial fishery license type of thing.
And that's fine. But I mean, even right now, one of the big things I'm not changing is the setback. I mean, you guys have it at 75 feet away from the water. I'm not changing that.
Right.
So what would happen now if someone was to come in and say, I want to build this right up?
I did that like 5-6 years ago,
Yep.
and I got a building permit and everything like that, and went through, and then,
Didn't have to worry about the 75-foot setback?
so then it got tabled again, and, DEP said that West Bath did not have, the only thing you can build them in within 0 to 75 feet is a 3-foot by 3-foot, shed. And it took the main shoreline guy to figure that out at the time. I don't know if you remember that, Ken?
What about the Ken shed, the 80 square foot?
No, it's like a 3 by 3 by 3, I think.
But there is in the ordinance a thing about an 80 square foot.
Is it 8?
Storage shed.
But it can't be higher than 3 feet tall, right?
No, 8 feet.
No, I think
No,
it's,
it's right in here. You know it is, Jeff.
I know it is, but I think it's only 3 feet. I think it can only be 3 feet
There is
tall.
also a thing about the storage box or something,
Yeah,
which is what you're talking about.
that's what I'm talking about. I think that's it, Jim. I think that's all that's left in here.
But there is a thing about the 80 square foot shed, page 33, right? Hard to stay out of the weeds, isn't it?
What was this, 83 you said?
I think it's 33, yes, page 33, paragraph 13.
Yeah, but I think but it can't be any closer than the water. Yeah.
It actually says should be located as far from the shoreline or tributary stream as practical.
Yeah. And again, that's what the statement pretty much would be.
So like, I think we have to change, that's,
And it can't be closer than the principal structure. And that's kind of what, put an addition on and you're, say, 25 feet from the water. You can't go closer to the water, but you can go parallel to it.
Yeah.
So, but I think that could be cleared up too. But let's, I appreciate what you're trying to do. Let's do this more, let's do those broad brushes and
Right.
then figure out where we're gonna go from here.
So, again, there's no stream protection on the map. That's just a different district that is, rather than 250 feet around those water bodies, it would just be 75 feet. And it's similar to a resource protection, just can't go within 75 feet of the stream. And I would have the map, I'd have updated maps and everything. We just did one for Bath. We have the same statewide rubric applied to each, and you can see what we're talking about.
Where do you get the maps?
I have a coworker who does it based on the data that she gets from the state and from the inland habitats. Does a good job. Oh, and I should also point out for the resource protection one, let's just say there's a block somewhere over there, some, let's say Birch Point, that has a couple homes that would be in the resource protection. You guys can easily just say, well, there are homes already in there that shouldn't be in resource protection. That's an exemption states give towns to do on resource protection designation. If that makes sense.
What's really interesting is the shoreline zone actually goes up by the store,
Which store are you talking
the
about?
West Bath Market,
Oh,
which is really strange, like everywhere out, like why, I don't know why.
you're talking about, because they probably don't have trying to protect around Moneygans, like, right?
Not like the West Bath store, West Bath Market, that stream there, like behind Jarrett Hills and behind Dutton's place there, like that's considered shoreline zone. We can't change that, Max.
I mean, if it's within 250 feet of the water body, I can't, or wetland, I can change that.
Just seems strange that that's,
I
you know what I'm
mean,
saying,
I
like,
still don't know what you mean.
Yeah,
so you know where, like Foster's Point, like say you come to the new stoplight,
Can
right?
you just, can you point to where it is on the map?
Where, let's see,
So this is Route 1 right here.
right here, so
Right here.
the shoreline zone goes all the way up.
So I think that's one of the stream protection items that you're running through it.
So see that right there, that's shoreline zone,
Yeah,
same as this one.
that's the.
So it goes all the way up to like, you know where Dutton keeps his stuff, his Connex boxes?
Oh, yeah, oh, okay.
That's shoreline zone behind there.
Yeah, that's the resource protection.
Yeah.
I can see resource protection, but not the shoreline zone, it doesn't really make sense.
Well, resource protection is the shoreline. It's just a more restrictive.
Resource protection is,
It's just a, I call it the more restrictive shoreline zone part.
just seems strange to me.
Because
It does.
it looks like they're inland wetlands. That's why.
Well,
Anyways,
okay, I know what you mean, Jerry. Okay, so,
Here's your 3 feet, the accessory structures and the 41.
I mean, I think it would be a good idea to try and, organize the restrictions and the zones and so forth, I mean, so that they're more logical and so forth. I think if we go and we change specific areas, I think we just need to go carefully.
yeah,
And I would show you what the map, the whole point would be you see the map first, say what you think of it, we'd have a side-by-side comparison, and then you decide whether you like that, or if there are changes that need to be made.
Okay.
Because there probably aren't gonna be that many drastic changes, maybe the stream protection is the only one, and then there's some water bodies that are on the border of some of the communities that we might just have as a recommendation for something else just to fit what they have. Like, I think this wetland right here, Bath has in resource protection just because it goes through conserved lands and they wanted to protect any water body that was on conserved lands and put it in resource
Well, that's
protection.
one against one, right?
Yeah, so I think that's what they put into resource protection. That would just be a recommendation of put that in resource protection as well, just to keep it the same throughout the borders for the entire water body, but your opinions may change on that. Same thing with the stream protection,
Yeah.
same thing with other resource protection items,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that area. I don't know.
But again, that's something I will show. You guys get to see it, you get to review it, talk with whoever you want, say, hey, this is a first draft, anything that sticks out. Because this is gonna take quite a few months. So it's better that I just show you the map now and we get the change it done early on.
Okay.
And then some revisions that you guys may need. Clean up the matrix, because there's some contradictions apparently and some overlap. People are just confused by it in general. And to be honest, considering how we just spent a bit of time trying to figure out lots 1A, B, C, D, E, and G for the density until someone decided to flip to a different page. It does get a bit confusing.
Reference there at least.
There's a reference there. Right. And that's the other part, when I'm writing it up and I'm doing references, I'll cite the section or I'll cite the article, but I'll also put in parentheses the title of it, so that if I'm saying, you know, go to Article 3A to understand the minute, I'm going to give Article 3A minimum lot standards in parentheses, just so people know, go, this is what it is. And if you do ever change it to, maybe you got rid of Article 3 for some reason, and someone then seeing Article 3 elsewhere, and they see the lot standards, they'll say, well, why, where is that in Article 3? That's just an easier correction to make. Then the last big item you really had was sort of scaling items. We touched on this a bit earlier, where, for example, homes, whether it's a shoreline zone or outside the shoreline zone, you guys probably don't want to deal with, probably not really something that.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So, I come into West Bath, I want to build a home. Let's say I want to build in the shoreline zone. Is that something that you guys want to deal with for your planning board next? Do you want to review someone wanting to build a home in the resource, or not, in the shoreline zone? Or does it take up too much of your time?
Well,
Where does it say right now in the ordinance that we should be involved?
Well, that was one of the first things I was talking about.
Right.
That if I build a home in the shoreline zone, planning board should be dealing with it.
I'll find it, Jim. I've seen
Okay.
it. Cause I had, like, when I built my place, I had a mini heart attack, cause I didn't work the planning board, you know? And it's done, I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done in the recent past anyways, whatever's within 75 feet of the shore, we're involved with. So if somebody has a non-conforming structure, they're expanding a 20 by 20 room.
And that's fine. I'm
Not
talking.
kosher, I know.
Yeah.
And so, we have been involved in those. I don't know, there's also a place in here, it says that, we could be involved on docks, new docks, too.
You're
And-
usually involved for permanent ones, but if it's just a temporary float that's out for the season,
Where does it say that in the ordinance?
I mean, I'm also just talking about
Okay.
the
It
general
does-
practice.
Well, right now, I think it's, on the docks, it's either or.
Right.
It's our choice to, and so there's another question, do we want to be involved in those or not?
But I also point to the matrix that you're all trying to find just words that say, you have to do this, you have to do that. If I'm coming to this town, fresh-eyed, I should be able to just look at the matrix and see, private garage or storage building in high-density shoreland, code enforcement officer approval, or planning board approval. I shouldn't have to just see permitted, and then someone has to tell me. who's
Absolutely,
that
that'd be great. That'd be very good.
So,
That they couldn't just look at a table and say, okay, who do I
right.
go?
That's the first big item, I think we can all agree on that. But then it's me trying to fill out what's the code enforcement officer, what's the planning board. And there should be some smaller residential items or even changes of use that I would probably have as the code enforcement officer's responsibility. And then you guys actually deal with the bigger developments. Or things like the non-conformance in the shoreline zone. But like, building someone's home, does that really need to come to the planning board? Does that need to take up your time?
I don't know. I know in most other towns it does, like Hartsville, like if you build a house in the shoreline zone, you'd have to go to the planning board. Georgetown, you'd have to go to the planning board.
Right. And again, that's why with the matrix chart, similar to the shoreline zone map, I'm gonna give an idea, and you guys just can change that matrix to whatever you'd like it to be.
On page 30.
Yep.
The top of the page says, ours might be a little bit different, Max, but it says
Yeah.
setbacks apply, blah, 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 and it goes, and it says too large, movable, including stored vehicles, cars, trucks, RVs, boats, and trailers, containers, and dumpsters. So like, I think if we drove anywhere in town, like there's boats within the setback. So like, I'm just wondering if we should change that, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think we should.
You know, like,
And that's another thing that a lot of boards will see when they're going through this. It's trying to determine what is a reasonable thing that you guys can handle with your capacity and what is well outside your capacity that may or may not still need to be addressed, and what's something that's just an outdated thing that probably can go away. Like there was one town that I had who had a shipping container permit process. And then the CEO said, I haven't had to do that in 10 years. So we got rid of it because no one ever raised an issue about it. Just did a building permit, moved on from it. You might have a similar thing like what you were just talking about with the setback. Is that something you still want to enforce, or is that something that could just be removed?
my personal opinion would be like, we don't enforce it, so we should probably remove it. But that doesn't, it doesn't matter to me one way or the
Where
other.
is that in the, what page you on?
Page 30, the top of the page.
It's under footnotes. So, yeah, you have it.
Right at the top of the page,
Yeah, I see
you
this.
see it. And I don't care one way or the other, but like I feel bad for John if there's something in the ordinance that, yeah, I don't know, like there's hundreds and hundreds of places in West Bath where like people's boats are stored closer than that to the road, you know, they're not meeting the setback, you know what I'm saying? And that's, I'm fine with it, you know what I'm saying, but I just don't think we should have the ordinance if we're not gonna, you know what I'm saying? But that we can, I mean, we don't have to figure that out tonight, but just something to think about, like.
Well, John has struggled somewhat with the container issue, and so it'd be good if that piece of it was clear.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that something about containers and, you know, the approval process and,
Right.
you know, and, you know, I mean, it's, I think he came down and said, too bad he wasn't here, but he came down and said, they're not, like a tractor trailer is not allowed, actually, and a container is not allowed, where they have been allowed in the past. So that, it just needs to be really clear what's allowed, what's not, as far as storing, you know, an RV or a boat. I mean, it's like, really, do we need the CEO to be,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
issuing tickets for, you know, a boat because it's not meeting setbacks? And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. So,
So I'll go through, and I encourage you guys to also look through the ordinance and just highlight something that you think is either difficult to enforce or you know is not being enforced, so we can see if that's maybe something that should just
Changed.
changed or at least removed, or like the shipping containers, what happened in the town was they just went from, rather than doing this process to try and fade them out over time, they just accepted that shipping containers are a thing. They just say, come in, get a building permit, and make sure it's properly screened. And that was a win for everyone really involved. People got their shipping containers, neighbors got a fence or some trees around the shipping containers.
Okay.
So that's just an example. You guys are probably gonna have some others in the ordinance. That was mostly what John had. Another item that I usually like to do, and I'm pitching this, is try and have everything under one ordinance. So you have your land use ordinance and then your development review ordinance. You have your, I believe separately, shoreline zone ordinance. Is there a problem if I just keep it under one roof?
how about the appeals?
One roof?
I'm good.
Deal?
I'm good with one roof.
Non-conforming subdivision, they just be their own separate articles, but all in the same book.
Yeah. People go through it and they'll say, well, there's nothing about it, because it's in a whole different
Speaking of
section of book.
nothing about it, I read this article about, where's the word? Sorry.
That's all right.
Non-water dependent floating structures.
Oh, those camp items.
Yeah, the floating camps that are popping up.
Yeah, I was just reading about that too. I don't really have a good answer for that one.
Okay, it's like, essentially people are building like a houseboat or something and anchoring them.
Robin and Marina has 2 or 3, maybe 4 now, of these floats that are actually a floating,
Like a houseboat, but it's not
yeah, it's kind of like a houseboat, and
towed.
they rent them out and people will come and go, and they said they can limit them to 5 max, and
Yeah, but now it's like turning into people.
houseboats,
Yeah.
essentially, yeah.
But I guess it's not defined. I just read an article about this and just started.
You don't have to worry once back, because Harbor Master doesn't put out any more permits.
Yeah. But it has become a problem though in some,
Right.
these little boards
Mm-hmm.
have become a problem in some municipalities. It's not a problem in town of West Bath now. I
Yeah,
don't know.
well, I'm just thinking if it's,
Anybody actually that's a.
yeah, if it starts trickling down, then maybe it does, and then,
Yeah,
I don't think, the problem is, I think like, it ends, right? Like, we couldn't enforce anything anyways, because it's the water, that's the whole thing.
that's where it's,
So I don't think we could do much here at this level.
except for access. But I don't know, I mean,
I think it would come down to like mooring permits, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, mooring permits and, if it has its own power.
And possibly the septic, if they have, or a holding
Yeah.
tank, whatever they use for
You
wastewater.
can get into a can, there's a lot of room for confusion there because if somebody has a boat
Mhm.
and, a 40-foot boat and they live on it for, 2 weeks, now does that constitute a violation?
Right.
It's kind of like you gotta be very specific. I don't think we have any issue in the town of any situation like that. Even, and the other thing is we don't have any marinas,
we
and
have,
that's usually where the first issue is.
well, we have the one right up here, right?
That's in Brunswick.
Are you talking about Eddie's?
Oh, you're talking about the,
The one
Golden
that's just
Meadows Inn?
up the New Meadows there at the end.
you're talking the Meadows
Oh,
Inn?
that is Brunswick, because it's on the other side?
Yeah.
That's, the New Meadows Marina is in Brunswick.
But technically, I think Eddie Shank does have a marina all permitted,
I think he does,
so we do have.
which is right across the stream.
Which is, whatever that building is, it's for sale?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Have you met Ed?
no.
yeah. But that's an interesting question though. So that's something we should probably think about a little more, huh?
Yeah. I just,
Someday down the road.
I know Maine's talking about it, right, as a state?
I'll keep an eye on, or my ear open for any news on that one, but but actually, while we're on that topic, well, it sounds like I'm gonna change the topic, but are there other items that also may not be in this ordinance that you guys want me to try and get some language on? Like, I'm just saying what other towns are talking about. You can obviously say yay or nay, and you already have like small solar energy systems, for example, so are you doing anything on bigger solar installations? Marijuana, or tiny homes, anything?
What was the first thing you
Those are
said?
good questions.
Marijuana,
Larger solar installations?
the library.
Like, you have a small energy system, which I assume is like, I wanna put something on my house, but if someone wants to buy 20 acres.
We do have something in the ordinance now about large solar systems, correct?
Yes.
Only allowed in commercial area.
Yeah, we do have large and small.
Okay.
I think we're covered under the solar farm part.
What were the other things you said? You said marijuana?
Some towns have done stuff with medical and recreational marijuana.
Yes.
I said tiny homes.
Has anybody done anything with the tiny homes? Any towns?
State just has some language on it, and sometimes just incorporate the language. I think John was also talking about maybe having a minimum size for residential building. Because I think with everything that happened in over 2003.
Isn't it like 600?
That was for the accessory,
Oh, that's accessory dwelling?
Yeah.
we said on the size, but for the main dwelling, I don't think there is any main size.
Yeah, that's wrong,
Tiny home, marijuana,
But if they have something on a trailer
yeah.
and it's licensed, then it's a trailer, not a permanent home, right?
That's the time. John was saying.
But what if you hook it up? Like to a septic or
No, see,
you
that's,
stick it
yeah.
in power?
Well-
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what, well, John was talking about, yeah, adding the minimum square footage for residential homes.
Did he have a number?
I don't think he did, but, I think he just wanted to have something there. Maybe to help differentiate tiny homes, accessory dwelling units, everything like that.
What else did you have for the things that other towns are considering large solar marijuana, tiny homes?
Short-term rentals, like, I just have a very bare minimum one that just says, yeah, permit.
Okay.
Just a CEO written permit, yeah, by knowledge, you have a short-term rental there. That's the big ones that most are thinking about.
We do have a lot of people in town that do have short-term rentals, so,
Suzanne wanted to ban, remember?
so, yeah. So I don't think we want to be too extreme about that. There's a lot of people that do depend on
Yeah. Oh,
extra money to,
Yeah.
you know, to pay taxes and so forth.
Well, and I should be clear, when I'm talking about any of these changes, even if it's a I'm not talking about a retroactive thing, like all people who have short-term rentals, let's say you did want to put something in there for short-term rentals, they wouldn't be forced to come back or anything like that. It's more going forward, if someone wants to put in a new short-term rental, they just go to the code enforcement officer for just a simple permit. That's it. But I'm only just giving examples.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Usually towns will, when we're going through this ordinance, there's some big item that, or controversial item, or you guys have probably dealt with one issue that popped up 20 times that you'll say, we really would like to have this addressed.
Yeah. My opinion, like with short-term rentals, like West Bath and a lot of these, like Pittsburgh, all these little towns that have like a huge history of like camp rentals over the, I mean, for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
It's fine, you know, all these.
The fact that we have a whole zone of high-density shoreline,
Right.
right? I think that's what that is.
Right.
Some are family camps, and those are,
I'm sure they got rented out over the years.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, keep in mind, what I'm talking about when doing any of these changes, I can be as restrictive as you guys.
Right.
I can also
No,
be
we-
as lenient as you want.
Right.
Well, my, you want to, may I
Yeah.
interject something? The, my observation is to do a subdivision, even a simple one, it seems to be too complex. It seems to take too long and be too complex. And we had what, 3 lots in this last one we're
Yeah,
talking
that's why
about.
we check those out.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's very straightforward. If he only did 2 lots, it wouldn't be a subdivision, right?
Right.
But with 3, he's got to go through this process, and it's, and I think it's good to know the detail and to have the plans and, you know, markings and so forth, but it just seems to be a lot, very complex, and for a simple,
Can you give an example? What
Few
makes it
lots.
complex?
well, he has to come in 3 times. And, you know, it's a sketch plan, a preliminary, and then a final. And it doesn't seem to differentiate between 4 lots, and there are some differentiations for a small subdivision versus a large one. But, it would seem that if somebody's doing just a few lots, that we should try and make it simple for them. I mean, it would help provide housing, after all, right? So, that was my thought, I'm just trying to make it a little
Simplify
simplified.
Yeah.
The subdivision process for, at least for the smaller subdivisions. I mean, you know, so there's one item I've mentioned before, Max, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't bring it up.
Is this about non-conforming and the expansion?
No.
30%? No? I know you said
Yes,
something.
yes it is. Okay.
That,
yes,
that would be part of the shoreline zone rework, because that all falls under chapter 1000 for the,
it is. Okay.
for shoreline zone updates.
There is a paragraph in chapter 1000, and we have many things already incorporated of chapter 1000, as I think you know. And chapter 1000 is a section or a chapter promulgated by the Department of Environmental Protection. And it allows for building in non-conforming lots and so forth. And one of the things they changed in 2015 was that they would still allow 30% expansion in area and volume, but then they also allow maximum floor areas and maximum heights depending on the distance from the water. So it gave the developer or the landowner some options, and other towns, my experience has been, what little I've had in talking to people, is that other towns, people like it. Developers like it, landowners like it. It gives them a little flexibility, it seems them a little clearer, and it doesn't do away with the 30%, it just gives another option, it's either or, correct?
Yep, whichever's greater.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or, yeah, whichever way they want to choose. And I guess part of my reasoning is that we're getting some designs that are flat roofs or almost flat roofs, and where people are dealing with volume issues and so forth. And it may not do away with those odd designs, but I think if we had that flexibility, it might help people.
I know there was a thing a long time ago too, with the whole rising sea level thing, like letting structures, if you can prove that like it would be long-term, like the structure could be taller than the existing code, if you can prove there's a reason, like a long-term reason. Like the basement would be, eventually could be filled in, and like, you know what I'm saying, like you'd lose that level type of thing. It was about a year ago, it was in the paper, some towns are adopting a thing like where you can have a structure taller than what the code is right now, like the foundation is gonna be taller type of deal, because of the whole. But I don't think we'd run into that, but like maybe we could put an exemption like that, somebody could prove that there was like a true reason to have a taller structure. They can do it.
Yeah, that's on page 5 of that chapter 1000. I'm surprised I haven't really highlighted. Maybe not in this copy, but and I'm not necessarily saying we should adopt everything that's in chapter 1000, but at least that other option for,
No, so again, I kind of have a draft of what I would already
good.
be proposed, well, for at least the shoreline zone items, I haven't touched the non-conforming section yet, but it's what I would have you guys probably look at first, since the shoreline zone is going to be a pretty big one compared to everything else. And then things like the administrative and general items that are in the beginning, they're pretty straightforward. No issue
Okay.
there.
Well, good, so that's included.
And just another item that I'm going to do is, and it's actually weird that I just noticed that you have it for one, not the other. I would be changing the numbering system for your land use ordinance to match your development one. So rather than having D1 for agriculture in the shoreline overlay zone, I would do maybe 4.1, and it's 4.1 instead. The number system where.
It's very confusing now.
When you say now, what are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about our existing ordinance.
Yeah, the existing ordinance showing
you know.
letter number, letter number,
Right,
letter number.
right.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you do a 4.1, 1.2, 1.3 or
1.1,
something.
1.1.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be excellent.
I prefer that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's there's a real trap there for, getting everything referenced properly and so forth. As you go along, I'm sure that you got to deal with another town.
Well, and again, that's why I'm going to have that, but when I'm referencing it, I'm gonna put in parentheses what I'm actually referring to. So if I'm referring to section 4.2.3, I'm gonna make sure I'm highlighting it saying it's agriculture and shoreline zone. So that I do have the right references, if that makes sense. Because I find that as a problem whenever someone is putting in all these references, but they either get the wrong one, or they just update it at the same time, so they're referencing different things. It gets confusing.
The other thought is, and I'm not sure how it's being dealt with in this town, but when a house has been built and doesn't meet setbacks, and this is picked up usually in a mortgage survey, or perhaps that's the wrong term, but it's not a full-blown survey, it's just done for for the bank to ensure that the improvements are on the property. And I was involved in one case in Wells where they were supposed to be 15 feet. I guess it was supposed to be 15 feet, and it turned out, off the property line, it turned out they were 13.9 or
Sure.
something. So the bank goes, we're not financing it. And this had happened a lot in the town of Wells. And I guess it happened a number of times. And what they've done is they changed the ordinance to say, with some language to say, essentially, if it wasn't done on purpose by the owner, it's just an innocent buyer that bought this 10 years ago, and they didn't know about it, and now they have a problem on their hands. What do they do? I mean, is there something we can build into our ordinance to allow some flexibility and to fix that problem for people when it occurs?
So, the Board of Appeals, for example, when granting a variance, one of their items is usually that it is not the fault of the owner or the
Yeah.
immediate previous owner. So,
This was through the Board of Appeals, I think.
yeah,
But it was very specific language, and
right, and
I liked it. It wasn't the standard state language for an appeal. It was other language, and I can find it if you want.
yeah, if you can find it, that'd be great, because, the Board of Appeals language is very similar to what you were talking about. I'd say the only difference would be just striking out that bit that says that, because usually most variances will be, you have to prove that it's not something that you caused, it's your own fault, but also not the fault of the previous owner. So I think with yours, it's just striking out the previous owner part, pretty much. Like, I know there's
I
probably
can't remember the language.
there's probably
but-
more specific language, but
Yeah.
that's probably the more cut dry way of doing it, so.
If it wasn't the fault of the current owner, they're just an innocent recipient of this problem,
Right.
and it did allow for a fix.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll find the language on that.
Okay.
And going along with that, we have had people come in from time to time, and they want to move a property line 10 feet. They want to put an addition on it. All the neighbors are talking together and everybody's in agreement this is okay. But the setback says it's 20 feet or whatever it does say. And they can't meet the setback. And everybody's in agreement, both owners are in agreement, there's no objections from anybody in the neighborhood. Why wouldn't it be reasonable to think that we could make some changes like that? But the ordinance, I don't believe, allows it. And we've had to refuse people before. There's somebody from New Meadows Lake that was in here and wanted to put an addition on, and it was for a disabled son or something, and,
He owned both properties.
I can't remember that.
He owned both
Yeah.
parcels
Oh my gosh,
So,
as far as disabled son.
you couldn't do it.
Was there, could the lots not be merged? could,
It's a non-conforming lot, I believe.
right, but, we don't have to get into too.
No, but minimum lot size will say is an acre.
Right,
And there's two lots, and let's say they reach 20,000 square feet.
yep,
And the lot, property line between them, they wanna move 10 feet.
okay.
Can't do it.
Again, I don't know how the lot makeup was, you're saying it's not.
No, but that property line can't be moved because it would increase the conformance, a non-conformance of the lot.
But if he owned both those lots, was there not a way he could just merge the two lots together to get rid of that line? Because that sounds like that's what could happen.
Or maybe you just sell one.
I don't know, that's why we don't have to get into too
I
many
guess though,
specifics.
going along with, my general philosophy, and this doesn't have to go my way certainly, but is to provide some flexibility in the ordinance for people. When we come across these situations that are, it's hard to say no, and I don't think we should have to say no in some of these common sense situations.
It's kind of.
And right now,
planning board, right?
Two 20,000 non-conforming lots, you can't move that interior property line 5 feet or whatever it is.
So I guess,
And why not? Why can't we do that?
so usually the model when it comes to variances is that it should be harder to get, because it should only be for the ones that truly were done well before the ordinance was even considered. But when you do have so many people complaining about the same issue, the answer shouldn't be having so many Board of Appeal meetings to get that same variance. It should be changing the ordinance so that those variances don't have to happen. So if the problem is setbacks, I assume side rear setbacks. Does anyone here have an objection to reducing the side rear setbacks from 20 or 35 to maybe 5?
What page is that?
But on the reception basis though,
29. Well, that gets back to the variance territory.
we want to,
Reduce.
I think our first choice is to try and, for everybody to meet these setbacks.
Right.
But then there are these unique situations
Which
that look for some flexibility.
we'd have to write down exactly what you mean by it, because when you're saying flexibility, is this just gonna be one sentence underneath that says, but coming to the planning board, we'll just give you a variance?
I'm not sure, that's why
And that's why
we're talking about it.
that's why we are talking about it, because,
I'm not sure how to do that.
because,
But I guess my thought would be to try and have it so that there'd be some more flexibility for people
yep,
when they have, a hard situation.
yep.
And I don't know, maybe John hasn't had many experiences with it. Maybe people just say, oh, I can't meet setbacks, so, I'm not even gonna try.
Right.
But
looking at the land use standards for the districts, on the very far right, we're looking at side and rear setbacks. Yeah, 15 feet away from even legally non-conforming sized lots. And then you have go from 20s, which is pretty much throughout the entire community, except in a mobile home park area. So, I don't know what the history has been with people who say they can't meet those setbacks, but if everyone that you have come across you says, oh, well, I can do it 10 feet away, but not 20 feet away, well, then let's change it to 10 feet. And then there's very little chance people will need that variance at that point.
I was thinking more like an extenuating circumstance
Right.
that should be reviewed.
I'm not saying these are incorrect, these setbacks, these side yard setbacks, that they shouldn't be here. What I'm saying is it'd be nice to have, to allow some flexibility in some cases. And perhaps the way to do that is through the appeals board, not to, as you said, make it easy, but at least to be able to let it happen. And some, depending on what the circumstances are. And I know the state, in the shoreline office, they have, 4 conditions you have to meet, you didn't cause it, and so forth and so
Well,
forth.
the standard variances, there's single family so that if there's just the undeveloped lot, and there's no other way you can put a single family home on there except getting the conventional standard variance, then you have those. there's undue hardship, there's one for disabilities. So a variance, as long as it's going towards someone with a disability,
Right.
like there are different variances, and they do vary quite a bit. They do vary quite a bit. So the solution might just be what I end up writing. Okay, you do have a separate ordinance for your Board of Appeals, I take it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's,
So I'll,
And we had talked to that guy about going through the Board of Appeals for the disability variance, but like, it just seemed looked like a lot of hoops to jump. The guy had enough going on, I mean, besides just a bunch of hoops,
yeah.
you know?
I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be something the planning board would handle, but that it would, I guess my general philosophy is that if there can be more flexibility built into this, you know, aim for all these setbacks and road frontages and so forth, but if there's some reason that can't be met, and they're good reasons, and this would be in addition to what the state it has now, the 4 items, you know, then, you know, maybe there's a way to provide flexibility for people. I mean, all these setbacks have so much history, and most of which I'm not aware of. And I'd be really hesitant to change those setbacks, because they've evolved over 50 years or so. You know, I mean, a small change, you know, is fine, but to change it from 20 to 5 feet, no. I don't think so, because there's all this history, and I'm just not aware of what it is.
No, I mean, I like the idea of that, of a review of some kind, if it's a situation that seems like everyone's on the same page, but I don't know how that would be worded or.
well,
But Max is a smart guy, so he can
Yeah.
figure this out somehow.
well, and again, we can only, if the concern is maybe there's just so much history with the setbacks, and maybe it'll be hard for, same thing with the maps, hard for people to see all these changes, we can always do a quick little info session with everyone early on, and say, here are some areas we're looking at, anything we should keep in mind, so that people are saying it early on before we commit to anything. It's all just,
Yeah, yeah,
there are different ways we can tackle this.
yeah. Okay.
It's not like a pizza where there's the right way to eat it, and then people who eat the crust first.
I hate somebody who's aggravated about that.
Okay, so flexibility in dimensional standards, numbering system, shoreline zone, keep it all under one roof, references, cleaned up, simplify the language. And I guess when I was doing LD 2003, saw an idea for what it would be, like, I'll scratch out something that I think may be a bit of contradictory or overlap, and I'll say, this is the thing that I'm suggesting you replace it with, and you guys say yay or nay, pretty much. And my idea is going to be trying to go through article or section at a time, and then getting your feedback before I say, we're good to go and move on to the next section.
Great.
When do you want to meet again, Max?
Well, I can send you the draft of the shoreline zone. That's just isolated from everything else, so that you can take a look at that, get an idea of what I'm going to be doing. I mean, I can send you a copy of that tomorrow, and then whenever you guys feel. I think it was about 25 pages. And then you guys can decide when you want to move after that.
Well, we're all here, we could just try and set a date, because while we all have our calendars handy and so forth. Before I forget it too, I think in here somewhere, it says something about, if it's not in here as an allowed use, it's not allowed.
Right.
And so that particular language needs to be in there, that if it's not stated, it's not allowed. And somewhere in here, in the, it's like this 150-page document or whatever, there is something about that, but,
The other thing that some towns will do is have something in there that says similar uses. so that it may not be written down there, but, let's say, and I'm giving it, it's just an example, I don't want anyone to say, well, it's right there, no. Let's say home daycare with 12 or less attendees, but you didn't have anything for 12 or more. And someone says, well, I want to do a daycare for 13 people. And you're saying, oh, well, it's just one extra kid, who cares? Technically, it would be permitted. The similar uses one would be you saying, oh, well, we do have this one for daycare for 12 or more, 12 or less. 12 or less, it's a similar use, it would fall into the same category. Do you see what I'm getting at with that? Because there's always new changes, new uses that are coming up. And sometimes some towns will just need that flexibility so that kind of like what you're talking about the setback, if someone just comes to you and you can't get the exact pinpoint of what something is supposed to be, you still have that flexibility to fall in that category until you can update your ordinance. So that you're not having someone wait 6 or 7 months for a change.
Just so long as it's really clear.
Yeah.
For the code officer to
Yeah.
enforce.
Yep.
And it needs to be really clear to be able to give him the meat he needs, if there's a violation. So I'm not sure how that's, and you know that.
Right.
But the whole problem comes, of course, when it's not clear,
Right.
and there's a lot of stuff in here that's conflicting and not clear. So, okay. So when would you want to meet, Max, in another month?
What would next month be?
September.
So our regular meeting's on the 10th.
Let me just pull that up.
How about the 17th?
7. No, I cannot do the 17th. 10th should work.
Well, the 10th's our regular meeting.
Let me see. 24th?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I can do it.
Okay.
All right, so September 24th.
6 p.m.
Yeah. I think it's good to stick to the same night of the week,
Yeah, that way we don't forget.
September 24th. Shall we lock in on the 24th? Going once?
I'm good for the 24th.
I'm good.
Okay, you go to the 24th?
Yes.
Okay, so the 24th it is. Where's my notes?
And I'll send you the draft example of the shoreline zone ordinance.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Here's your copy. I have one at home.
I move that we adjourn.